Welcome to the final part of our COVID lockdown discussion. Today we'll be dealing with conflict resolution. Hi everybody. Pleasant good day to you all. It's another beautiful day. It's just a great privilege to be alive and to give God thanks today. And we're back here with you again. We are going to be sharing some more information with you as we continue to deal with and to cope with the realities of COVID-19. All right, today we have with us two familiar faces. One of our contributors is absent today, so we'll only have two of them today, but we know that we'll still have a fabulous time. We have with us Dr. Eulalie Daly Semper. She's here with us. Give a wave, Sister Dr. Semper, sorry. And we also have Director Pastor Carl Hastings. Pastor Hastings, great to have you again. As we facilitate this discussion one more time. All right, as you know, Pastor Hastings, is the youth director of the South Leawood Conference, and Dr. Semper is the education director and also children's ministries director of the South Leawood Conference. Today, our discussion is going to be surrounding the topic of conflict. We're looking at conflict today. And it's important because of the fact that we are in this lockdown. And we've also had a number of reports in the media about families who have been struggling with conflict. So today we're going to be discussing conflict. All right, so let's get going, everybody. Dr. Semper, Pastor Hastings, conflict. What is conflict? You know, what is conflict? And then, you know, what is conflict in the family?
Simple definition, any form of disagreement would be conflict. Any form of disagreement that may come from different viewpoints may cause conflict, may cause persons not to get along,
right? May
cause persons to have opposing views, take different sides, want different things. So there's a sort of chaos that's not quite settled because something is preventing that unity of family and persons.
Okay, Pastor Hastings, you want to jump in?
Conflict is differences between two or more individuals that create a challenge between both parties.
All right, so beautiful. So we've kind of given an overview of what conflict is. Now, why is this such a relevant discussion at this point in time as it relates to families? Why is this so relevant?
Presently, we are under a lockdown situation. And when that happens for too long, you can have or find that people are very uncomfortable. And when people are uncomfortable, they become miserable. And sometimes situations can arise within a country. So it is important that we discuss this now because under this lockdown, and as we have discussed in our previous presentations, we do not know if this is going to be a short or a long lockdown. So it is important that we discuss it and understand that as we work through the situation, there are things that people in their homes can learn as we discuss.
Okay, Dr. Semper, go ahead.
Yes, people need to get along. We're locked down, we're locked in. And as family members, it's very important that we get along, that we can talk to one another, that we can enjoy one another's company, that we can just be happy in our space. It's very important. Because if we do not get along, you know, there's so many consequences which we will explore later of simply not getting along. So it's very important that we're in one space that we get along with one another.
Beautiful. So the truth is, you know, because of the lockdown, again, we've mentioned this over the last two sessions that we've done, families are sort of locked into the same space, right? And as a result of that, it's very likely that they're going to come into contact with each other regularly and pretty often. And because of that also, you can find that you can have situations of escalation where a discussion or a disagreement, can become something greater and people escalate and it can get out of control. And so you find yourself struggling just to maintain peace and harmony in the family. But what is it that causes conflict? What is it that causes conflict in the family between maybe a husband and a wife, between parents and children, between, you know, extended family members who may be living in the same environment? What is it that actually causes conflict? We identified what conflict is, but what causes it?
It's a disagreement over a matter that can escalate into areas that sometimes create great difficulty for people to get along, and for people to live together in unity.
Just add a little bit to it, because conflict will continue because natured man, selfish natured man. So that selfish part of us always wanting to be first, not thinking about the other person, can be one of the greatest causes of conflict, just being selfish in nature. Secondly, conflict can be caused because of attitudes, poor attitudes, that attitude that says that I'm not looking out for the other person, it's all about me, I'm not caring and kind and compassionate. I just have a negative attitude towards life. And because of the attitude that I possess, I'm going to bring that same attitude into my relationships, and hence persons will be affected, because you do not, all of us now, we like to be around positive people. We don't like to be around negative persons. And negative people can cause conflicts in tiny spaces.
Okay.
Tiny or in any space.
In any space. All right, thanks for that. Now, there's an article that I came across, and two pretty renowned psychologists by the name of Art Bell and Bret Hart in 2019. They created an article, that dealt with common causes of conflict in the workplace, and the common causes that they've suggested are very relevant to families also. So I just want to share them. 6 of them I'm going to share with you, of 8 that they have. But they suggest that one of the common causes of conflict in the workplace, and we're now saying in the family, one is resources or limited resources. Number 2 is conflict of styles. Number 3 is the conflict of perceptions. The 4th one that we'll share is the conflict of goals, conflict of goals. Then we also have the conflict of roles and the conflict of personal values. All right. What do you think in relationship to our discussion? Let's look at the first one. Sometimes conflict comes about because people are struggling with what we might consider to be limited resources. Anybody want to speak to that?
I can start with and just use resources, because sometimes it's limited can cause the problem, yes, but sometimes persons have not learned, I believe, be contented with what they have and make what they have work. So whether it's limited or much, they'll still be content, because there's a certain sense of dissatisfaction with the now, always wanting more, always looking at what others have and making a comparison. And anytime we begin to make comparisons, Dr. Brackway, it's a potential, it's a real cause of conflict in the home. Even with the limited resources, persons can still learn to be content. So I think that sense of contentment is what I would encourage in all circumstances at this point.
Okay, Pastor Hastings, you were going to say something.
Yes, and important as well, some people are accustomed to a lavish lifestyle. They are accustomed to, just to be free in terms of usage of anything. And in a situation like the lockdown, I can just foresee probably a husband to a wife. Yes, we are accustomed cooking this amount of food, but we have to cut down on the size, on the pot, because, we know how long this is going to last, and we don't know if we'll be able to get food in a short while. So let's cut down. This in itself, can, because of resources, limited resources. And this can go straight across the board in terms of anything that we can talk about in terms of resources, in terms of its limit, how limited it is.
It is, yes. And
one over the other might decide to use in excess.
The woman, the wife, whomever, that female figure, maybe in the house, can also make that suggestion also, and one understanding either on the other end can also cause that conflict, because the wife can say, well, I'm accustomed to be cooking, 3 meals per day. Maybe now I'm going to just say, let's see how 2 work and see if that can go for us. Right, Pastor?
Yeah, you're right.
In terms of the resources.
Right. and that could be a cause of conflict.
Yes.
Right, because somebody is saying, look, I'm accustomed to this. This is what I am accustomed to. I don't want it to be reduced. And you're talking about just trying to manage those limited resources in this environment.
And even how we spend what we have. What's the priority in the household? People may have different priorities. I think that one may say, okay, we need to pay this bill. Another may say, no, the school fees need to be paid. Another may say, no, we need to make sure that we pay for the car. And here we go, problems.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we looked at resources. Let's look at styles. You know, each person in the home has their own style, their own personality. And sometimes conflict arises when these styles or these personalities collide, they clash. What do you have to say about that? You have conflict because of a different personality style. Just, you know, your children are different to you. That can create conflict. And maybe you didn't notice it as much a couple of months ago as you are noticing it right now, because everybody is so close together in the home.
Yes, this is so true. I'm just viewing this from the standpoint of probably a television program. One may love what they call it, Golden Girls. One may love the news, and you know, you have news 24/7 now. And you know, I could see the war taking place between the remote control, and then that could escalate in a sense. You know, these things are real. You know, and what happens now, because before time you get a chance to go to work and to have that freedom during that a good portion of the day, and then when you get home sometimes you're too tired to do anything, so sometimes you hustle off to bed or you get some things done and then you go to bed. But now you're 24/7, you have a lot of time on your hand, and sometimes there's not a lot of work in the home to do, so you have a lot more time to sit down and relax and watch your favorite television program. But just that your children, father and the mother there in a war.
Right, Dr. Semple.
Wonderful. You know, there's so many things that can happen. I'm just thinking, I was tickled in thought, because sometimes you're going, people are going and they do not really know. Maybe sometimes a man is wondering, wait, this is the woman I really married to, or the other way around, because they're going from time to time, and because sometimes I'm thinking, especially for people who like makeup and jewelry and so forth, just an example, I'm suggesting that for the first time, the man may be seeing the woman without makeup and wondering, wait, what is going on here? You know, I'm just saying, because some people are always in the makeup and you don't value yourself, you more value the outshow, and not getting to see the real person. Hairdressers, you can't go to the hairdresser to put in the nice weave and so forth. So, you know, oh wow.
Absolutely.
And in terms of the personalities,
yes,
even when you put the shoe, whether you're tidy or you're untidy, some people, you come in, you put your shoes anywhere, some people, no way, what is going on here? This is crazy. It's really a time for conflict.
Absolutely beautiful. And again, with personalities, you know, you might begin to recognize that somebody, their personality type, they may be more aggressive than you realize. You're having a discussion, the person speaks in a very aggressive tone and you know, brings over this type of attitude, and you're thinking, okay, where's this coming from? I never really observed this before over the last few weeks or months, particularly maybe with your children, teenage children, who are now exerting themselves as they get older, and it may have slipped you by over the last few years or months, but now you know, in the home, you may challenge one of them about a certain activity, and they may stand up to you. You know, you're thinking, what's going on here? You know, I'm the man of this house. You know what I mean? You better take your place. And that child challenges you and stands up to you, and you know, your thinking is, my personality, this child is behaving like the man or the woman of this house. I need to put them in their place, you know, and all of a sudden everything escalates, you know, and the conflict becomes very real. And you know, if you don't know how to handle that type of stuff, it can be really challenging. Okay, we're gonna do just one more, because we spoke about 6, but time is running so quickly. What about conflict of objectives?
The style, I don't know. I wanted to go back to the different parenting style.
Okay.
I wanted to say that the different parenting style can cause significant, for the children, significant conflicts. even from a parental point of view, you have the permissive, you have the authoritarian,
Yes.
you have the authoritative, and one parent may not like how the child is being disciplined, and as a result of that, you have serious conflicts between
Yes.
father, mother, child, mother, child, father. So that triangle there, and then it creates a whole web of problems that affects the relationship. I just wanted to say that one.
Absolutely, thank you.
Go into objectives.
Yeah, and it does lead into objectives as well, because sometimes based on the objective that a particular parent has in mind, based on their parenting style, they may want to achieve certain things. One parent may have come from a home where, you know, you just do what I say. And that's the same thing, that their objective is to have their children follow in the footsteps that they came from. Another parent may be a little more authoritative in terms of, you know, mixing love and discipline and allowing that to be their mode of operation. And because of the varying styles and the objectives that those two individuals have, it can create a lot of conflict in the home. But as I said before, they didn't notice it until now. Pastor Hastings.
Yes, that is so important. A lot of times, if we really do an evaluation, we will see a lot of conflict in situation result from the fact that, you know, objectives of individuals are different.
Yes.
And the way we perceive some things in life, it does not go well with other individuals as they whether listen to us or they watch us operate as we go about life. Okay. But I mean, differences of opinion is one of the number one issues that creates great conflicts in the, and that's why it's important to, this is not a counseling session, but I mean, when you're choosing a life partner, these are red flags to look at, the things you can look at, see how a person thinks, how a person operates, put them in situations to cause them to be able to really, you know, come out of their shell, so you can see them in all their colors.
Okay, so we've been having a beautiful discussion. We've spoken about what conflict is and conflict in the family. We've spoken about some of the causes of conflicts. And because we have limited time, we do have to move to how do we begin to address these conflicts in the home when we recognize that there is conflict, and a number of persons may have seen conflict developing in their homes over recent weeks. How can we begin to address conflict and do it in a way that's going to be helpful and cause success within the family? Let's begin with Pastor Hastings, and then we'll speak to Dr. Semper on that. Go ahead, Pastor.
Yes, I want to look at the whole issue of not ignoring a conflict when it arises. Sometimes a conflict arises and an individual may be a bit intimidated and may feel that it is okay to allow it to pass by not addressing it. Time to pass, roll the problem or the situation. But however, that problem is lying dormant. That is lying dormant. Anything that happens again in the relationship usually pops up. So the first rule, never ignore it. Address it at a time that is conducive for you to control the situation and to successfully handle the problem.
Okay, so you're saying that conflict should not be ignored. Conflict should be discussed. They should be addressed, and they should be done at a time when both parties are calm, or all of the parties involved are calm. That's the point at which you can begin to address the conflict. Okay, Dr. Semper.
And in all relationships in any household, everyone has to behave as if I am part of a team.
Okay.
And have this persons in the team should have that desire to want the good, the happiness of the family. So firstly, when we understand that, then we're more likely to be humble, to be understanding, to be forgiving, so that in cases of conflict, we do not have the attitude of holding it against the person and extending this tension in the home. We'll be quick to say, I am sorry, or please forgive me, because we want the family circle to be happy. And once we're thinking about the happiness of the other person, it makes it easier to deal with conflicts. And all the time, we should be hard on the problem, not on the people.
Right.
So we try to look at the problems, identify the problems, and see how we can address those, instead of making the person who you're living with feel sad and embarrassed and hurt. These are negative emotions that we do not want to put our loved ones through. The word love is not just a word, it's an action. And too many times we talk about love, but we do not practice it. And love kills, love never wants to hurt.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
So we've looked at, just a moment, we've looked at being a part, well, remembering that we're all a part of the team, and also that we should be hard on the problem and not on the person. I like that. And also you indicated, Pastor Hastings, that we should ensure that we address the problem. I just want to add here really quickly that in order to be able to address a conflict, you have to know what the issue is. And so one of the critical components in dealing with issues is to identify that issue very clearly. I've discovered that there are times when people are arguing about things, there's a conflict about something, but when you get to the nitty-gritty, you realize that the two people or the three people were arguing about totally different things, all right? So it's really, really important to identify the issue that you may be dealing with. Yes, Pastor Semper, Pastor Hastings. Yes.
I want to say two things here. One is adding to what you're saying there. It is important to realize sometimes that even if you may feel very in control of who you are, the best person sometimes to deal with the situation and to resolve the conflict may not be any of the parties involved. And most of the times, those are not the persons really to really work through this. Sometimes people try to keep other people out of their situation, and that may be true and good in some instance. But I mean, we have to also realize that sometimes there are biases that we have that really trouble the way we or the outlook, how we look at this whole situation and dealing with it.
That's true, and we should always give the benefit of the doubt. I asked Paul today, Paul is my husband, and he didn't give me the answer that I wanted him to give me, and immediately I'm like, what is that all about? But that's his answer. Right. I asked him a question, he gave me his answer, and I'm like, what is that? Because I was looking for something else. You know, sometimes we do that. We look at what we want, our perspective, and not the other person's perspective. Yeah. The question I asked him though is that in a situation, would he prefer to be right, or would he prefer to be happy?
Right.
And that's a question that we have to ask. You want to be right, or you want to be happy? I was expecting him to tell me, of course, I want to be happy.
But he wants to be right.
He's reasoning.
And that's the problem.
Men like to be right. Yeah, we do like to be right. We like to be right. You know, and this is so beautiful. As we work through resolving these conflicts, we identifying the issue, we are recognizing ourselves as a part of the team. We are being hard on the problem and not the person. We sometimes, I think what Pastor Hastings was saying just a while ago is that sometimes we need help. We need somebody to help us through the situation, because we are not always in a position to really resolve the problem properly. Okay, so that's another very important point. And as Dr. Semper just highlighted, we also need to give the benefit of the doubt in any given situation. Give benefit of doubt to your spouse, to your family member, that they always had their best interest at heart. In resolving conflicts in a very practical way as well, we spoke about how important it is to select the right time. You don't want to begin to resolve an issue when everybody's up in arms, when everybody's upset. You need to be able to call a timeout and say, hey, look, this is escalating, this is getting out of hand. Somebody needs to be the referee and calm things down. You know, when you realize that things are getting out of control, somebody has to say, okay, guys, look, let's stop. Let's take a moment, take a deep breath. Let's leave this alone for a little while, and we will re-engage this discussion at a later time, you know, so that everybody's tempers can be cooled, and we can out that fire, if you want to put it that way, because we do not want a situation where everything is out of control, everybody has lost their cool, and that's just a disaster waiting to happen. All right. So I just wanted to highlight that. All right. And we're going to take two more, and then we're going to have to begin to wrap it up. Yeah.
Yes, self-esteem is a big thing in solving conflict. Some people have low self-esteem, poor self-esteem. They're not able to deal with situations, and sometimes our perceptions are developed out of these situations where we are very poor in our self-esteem and we're not able to see things in a concrete way. And so everything is a problem for us. If somebody whisper, they're talking about us. And sometimes because we're not able to, our self-esteem is so low,
Yes.
sometimes it really and truly hinder the situation from being resolved because we are not giving the situation a chance to really work out itself.
Okay, Dr. Semper.
And we have to be genuine and honest in our relationships. And I look at step parenting, families with step parents, and that stepchild relationship often causes serious problems.
Right.
And the problems would begin in the home, and then they would extend to the in-laws on either side who now decide that they need to get involved because somebody's not treating somebody correctly. Right. So it's so important, Pastor, you said it earlier, that we think and we consider the relationships that we're getting ourselves into. Because if we take on a step family, a step child, it should be like, how we should treat that person exactly as we would treat our own children. And if we are not doing that, it means that that's not good. So for anybody at this time who is in a relationship, a stepchild relationship or step parent, we're asking you to love and embrace and support, because everything comes with the package.
Thank you so much. And that's such an interesting direction that you've taken in our discussion, because we have so many different types of families. You have, the nuclear family, you have a single parent family, you have the blended families with stepchildren on both sides. You have other relatives living with you, extended family members, and it all comes together at this point when everybody's locked in, and we have to find ways to resolve our conflicts. The final thing that I want to just share on conflict resolution, as you begin to have a discussion about the issue and you begin to clarify the issue and you begin to work towards a solution, one of the things that needs to happen is that you make several suggestions as to how the conflict can be resolved. So, the group will sit down, we'll talk about it, we'll identify it, and then we talk about how can we resolve this issue? How can we fix this problem? If the problem is that too much money is being used at this point in time where we are challenged financially, how can we come to an agreement on how to use less money? How can we come to an agreement on how to cook less meals per day? How can we come to an agreement on how to utilize utilities in a way that is more responsible? And then we begin to put things in place. We begin to suggest several ideas as to how this can happen. And then ultimately, the group comes together and decides, we're gonna try this one. And you try that for a couple of days, and if it's successful, you work with it. If it's not successful, you go back and look at some of the other ideas that you suggested earlier until you come to an amicable solution for the entire family. And that is a part of the process that we have to use in resolving conflicts so that we can have our families working through the challenges and coming out on the other side of this pandemic successfully, that our family would not fall apart as we close out on this pandemic. All right, so we're gonna give each of you just about 2 minutes to wrap up real quick. We're running low on time. So Dr. Semper, go right ahead. We're gonna ask you to say a few closing thoughts.
Our families are important. Love your family members. Embrace this time home alone. Use I statements. Turn around to the family members at this time. I love you. I care about you. Yes. Use I statements and just embrace, just love, and just create opportunities for bonding. Your family may be all you have at this time. So treasure it. Amen. Treasure it.
Amen.
Love
Thank you.
Until you can't love anymore. All
right. Pastor Hastings.
You have two options. You could either deal with conflict in an unhealthy manner or a healthy manner. Remember, conflict triggers strong emotions and can lead to hurt feelings, disappointment, and also discomfort. That is when you deal with it in an unhealthy manner. But it can truly be a wonderful occasion when you deal with it healthy, because it bring about resolution, it bring about an increase in understanding of the other person, it builds trust and strengthens your relationship. So I say to you today, do not ignore your conflict, deal with them, and remember, self-esteem is of utmost importance if you're going to resolve conflict amicably.
Thank you. You know, just as I close off, a lot of people see conflict always as very negative. Researchers, the Gottmans, and several others suggest that conflict can also help to build greater intimacy if you know how to deal with it properly. And so, you know, don't always see conflict as something that's going to be negative. You can, if you learn how to work through conflicts well, you will actually get to feel closer to your family members. And as we've shared this afternoon, we've shared we've shared several ways that you can work through conflict, that you can resolve conflict. And for your families, we just want you to do really, really well through this crisis. You know, as you spend time at home together, we want it to be times of building, times of encouragement. Yes, Dr. Semper, say, I love you, I care for you. I'm so happy for this time that we have where we can share each other and we can spend time with each other. Even though we may have disagreements, I still love you and I want the best for you. That's what we want for you folks, the best for you, the best for your families. And so we're saying, yes, there will be conflict, but by the grace of God, you can work through them and come out on the other side of COVID-19 successfully. So we pray that God will bless you real good throughout the rest of this day. Love your families, enjoy the time that you're spending together, and be successful as we walk this journey together. May God bless you and have a wonderful day.